Bismillah Rahim. Greetings, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Shua and I am the host and founder of a podcast called Light Up with Shua. It's a weekly podcast on conscious living and parenting. You might have already subscribed to the channel, my podcast. If you haven't, please do so. You are listening to it now. This is the series on environment and climate change. I hope you have heard or watched Professor Ibrahim Ozdemir, his 4-part series on environment and what he had to say. He is a professional in that area. So now I wanted to talk about a presentation that I did on environment and resilience recently. Before we begin with that, I wanted to say that please do visit my website lightupwithshua.com, and you can find this podcast on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Castbox, iHeartRadio, and other platforms to listen to. And there is a channel that you can watch, which is YouTube. And also many times the Groton channel is also broadcasting my podcast. You can subscribe to it anywhere you want. My links are also available on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. So I hope you will send your feedback and comments and let me know what you think of the podcast or any of the episodes that you watched or heard. Now, this topic is very important nowadays, so I'm going to be talking about it briefly. And what happened was that we are talking about resilience. How can we be environmentally resilient? How can we save our planet? How can we improve our living to save our environment? As we know, in the coronavirus epidemic that is going on, this is extremely relevant to that, and our spaces somehow have cleared up. There are pictures and images of around the world. One can see how clean and clear the environment has become because we are all isolated, in isolation and quarantining due to the coronavirus epidemic that is going on, or as we say, a pandemic. So in this topic, on this topic for today's episode, I wanted to just briefly talk about what the Islamic viewpoint or perspective is about environment. And there is a lot, but I will just briefly touch upon it, and we will continue on this topic for some time in this series. I will be bringing different guests and also talking myself about it. So before I begin, I want you to relax, ground yourself, to take a few breaths, let's say 3 breaths, and realize where you are. You're listening to this podcast, and hope for the best. And I hope that we all can do our little in our own capacity for this earth, this beautiful earth that we live on. So let's take 3 energetic, cleansing, relaxing breaths. Let's begin. Through the nostrils and exhale through the nostrils at your own pace. I hope you have done those 3 breaths and you're feeling grounded, ready to listen to this podcast. So I wanted to say that Qur'an is for the whole humanity. That's what I have learned. And you can read it, you can learn from it. And it talks a lot about the environment, the solutions to current environmental crisis. And we have a deep-rooted tradition about environment and how to take care of it. So I would like and encourage you to explore and find out more what Islam says about environment. How can we learn from it? According to the dictionary, resiliency is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness, the ability to spring back into shape. So I think that's what we are doing. We will have to spring back from this pandemic. We have to spring back from all that is not aligned that is not going well on our planet. So for now, this talk is being influenced and affected by the pandemic, because we are looking to everything through the current situation. So in the past, I would like to quote a hadith, a tradition from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the last prophet in the lines of prophets. He taught us that when you hear that a plague is in a land, do not go to it. And if it occurs in a land that you are already in it, then do not leave it or flee from it. So this was said by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, about more than 1400 years ago. So you can see that this was in the system at that time. The plagues or epidemics were happening, these outbreaks were taking place, and so we were instructed what to do. So that is quarantining, isolation. A long time ago we were taught about it. So Islam's view on nature is rooted in multiple theocentric positions. We can demonstrate by a Quranic verse that says in chapter 6 verse or ayah 102, it says, "There is no God but Allah, the creator of all things." So this is stipulating that there is a link between creation and the creator. Let's talk about water for a minute. Water has been mentioned throughout the Qur'an, and that's part of our life on earth. Everything we do is with water. Water is so essential, such an essential part of our life. Muslims wash themselves after every time they go, and the ablution that we do for our prayers, that is with water, but it is instructed to very carefully, wisely use water. You cannot waste water, you cannot splash it around and make mess also, but you need to wash yourself, and that is the best thing. And what are we doing nowadays? We are washing ourselves due to this coronavirus, and we were taught as a habit to do it for the prayers 5 times. And of course, after every meal, you are supposed to rinse your mouth and wash your hands before and after. So we are given these hygienic habits long time ago, and I think you don't have to be a Muslim to take them and make them part of your lifestyle. So moving on from there, there is the mention of water, as I said, has appeared multiple times in the Qur'an. So in one of the verses says, which is, verse means ayah, signs in the Arabic. And the surah, which is the chapter, says in it that we made from water every living thing, quote, end quote. We made from water every little living thing. This is in chapter 21, ayah 30. And this sentence is repeated in 24:45, chapter 24, verse 45, in also chapter 25, verse 54. Water is also emphasized as an important aspect of existence, and we are told to ponder upon its use, as I was mentioning, that we need to be very carefully using it. There's another verse which is very important and thought-provoking, which is in chapter 56, in verses 68 to 70. It says, "Have you seen the water which you drink? Was it you who sent it down from the rain cloud, or did we send it? Were it our will, we could have made it bitter. Why then do you not give thanks?" So it's kind of God asking us, like, why are you so thankless? Where is the gratitude for the free gift that Allah, God, has given us? So I do not want to prolong this conversation too long, but I have a lot to say about it, and I will say it in the next episode as well. But I will try to finish it for now and talk about how is that we can interact with our environment. Allah has created human beings. That's what we believe. We are the representatives on earth, making the earth a dwelling place for all of us, for the humankind and the animal kind and all kinds. So it is not for human beings alone. So we have the right to use the earth, the animals and the minerals to help our temporary life that we believe is here on earth. But with this right comes the responsibility of manifesting the qualities of the Creator, which have been in place in our primordial nature, which is fitra, which is the nature of human beings. And those primary ones to begin are mercy and justice. Qur'an also tells us that we have, as human beings, corrupted this earth. So environmental corruption, as we know today, exists. The Holy Qur'an sets our complete spiritual and moral guidelines for us. The human beings, Allah tells us, should walk humbly. That is in Surah 31, Ayah 19. Chapter Luqman, it's 31. And not to be wasteful or extravagant, not to dispute or disrupt the balance that exists in nature, and not to change the creation of God. So to live in such a manner, we need to be in balance, and to keep that balance, we need to be mindful of it and conscious of it. And so there is hope. We should keep our hopes alive. We should not give up. Human purification can help address the environmental crisis. And how do we achieve that? We will talk about human heart purification later in upcoming episodes. The root causes are not only the dominating materialistic attitudes, which seems to be directly responsible to the crisis, but corruption of human morals in general is also a major issue that is causing these environmental issues. So, and last example, and then I will end this, that there is in chapter Al-Rum, which is 30 and verse 41, it says, corruption has appeared on earth and at sea because of what the hands of men and women have wrought, in order that God may make them taste the consequences of their actions, so that they might return. That is, so that they might return to God, So we have to be thoughtful of what we do. So the sacredness of the environment is highly precious in the Islamic tradition. So I will end it here with some takeaways. Before I end it, I just also want to give one more verse which says, there is nothing that happens on the earth or that Allah or God doesn't know. Not a leaf falls without His knowledge. And this is in chapter 6, verse 59. And with that, I will end today's episode. And I hope you have you liked what I had to say. I got all this from different scholars and different articles. I will be quoting everything that has been said. Mostly it is in the Qur'an, so I have given you the references. And the takeaways are that regardless of your faith, ask yourself, have I improved my life and the lives of those around me? How can I improve in that? How can I help the current environment? How, and especially in this pandemic, how can we be of an assistance to one another and not be nuisance rather than more of a comfort, a healer? So I hope you will subscribe to the podcast and continue listening to Light Up with Shua. Visit my website, send me your feedback, and let me know what you think. And use less fuel, reduce your consumption of fossil fuels, and also eat mindfully, use reusable water bottles. These are some simple things that we can do to improve our environment. Cook at home, eat less outside. I think we all are doing that nowadays. So I think we can keep this practice for the rest of the year and our life. Reuse stuff, use less anyways. Be a minimalist. Try to get into the lifestyle of minimalism. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you can let me know what you think, and see you in the next episode. Thank you.